My wife cheated, lied, and took my dog, so I took the house, the car, and left her watching from the curb. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and for most of my 20s, I thought I had everything figured out. My wife, Emily, and I met in college. She was the kind of woman who lit up every room, the one professors remembered and friends relied on. I was quieter, more grounded, the planner. We balanced each other. At least, that's what I used to believe. We got married right after graduation. Everyone said we were rushing, but to me, it felt right. We bought a modest house on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place that smells like fresh paint and hope. Every corner had a memory. The kitchen where we burned our first dinner, the living room where we danced barefoot after long workdays, and the backyard where we brought home Max, our golden retriever. He wasn't just a dog, he was our kid, our glue, the heartbeat of that house. For 8 years, we built a life that looked solid from the outside. I'd leave early for my architecture firm, grab coffee on the way, and send her a text, "Love you. Don't forget Max's walk." She'd reply with a selfie, usually smiling, hair messy. Sunlight behind her, the kind of simple things that made the day feel right. But lately, something shifted. The texts slowed down. The smiles felt rehearsed. She started saying she had client calls that ran late. Her phone glued to her hand, her laughter quieter when I walked into the room. There was a new perfume, something expensive, something I didn't buy. And when I hugged her, she'd stiffen for a second before leaning in. Like her body forgot what comfort felt like. I told myself it was stress. Everyone hits rough patches, right? But even Max noticed. He'd bark when her phone buzzed, tail stiff, ears flat. I laughed it off, never realizing he was the first one to sense it. Looking back now, that was the moment the life I thought I built started cracking. I just didn't see it yet. It started subtly, the kind of distance you can't measure, but can feel in your bones. Emily began spending more time working late, though her design studio was in our house. I'd come home to find her in the office. Lights dimmed, typing fast. Her phone screen turned away when I walked in. When I'd ask what she was working on, she'd sigh. "It's just client stuff, babe." You wouldn't get it. I tried to believe her. God knows I did. I told myself that maybe I'd been too focused on my deadlines, that maybe she felt unseen. So I started doing more cooking dinner before she came out of her office, leaving small notes on the fridge like, "Proud of you." But instead of softening, she pulled further away. Conversations became transactional. Did you pay the mortgage? Can you pick up dog food? Gone were the spontaneous hugs, the midnight laughter, the lazy weekends watching movies with Max sprawled between us. Even the bed felt colder, as if the mattress itself had chosen sides. One night I tried to bridge the gap. I got home early, hoping to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. I remember standing outside her office, hearing her voice through the door, low, warm, not like the tone she used with me anymore. Then a pause and a faint laugh, the kind that twisted my stomach. When I knocked, she jumped and said, "Just a client call." She smiled too quickly, and the air between us turned heavy. Later, as we ate in silence, I noticed Max staring at her phone on the counter. When it buzzed, he growled a soft, uneasy sound that made her flinch. "What's wrong with him lately?" she snapped, pushing her plate away. I didn't have an answer, but something about that night stuck with me. Because the truth is, you don't lose someone all at once. You lose them in inches, in glances that linger too long, in laughter that doesn't reach their eyes, in moments where silence says more than words ever could. And I could feel her slipping inch by inch right in front of me. Happened on a Tuesday night, the kind of night where nothing feels off until it suddenly does. I was half asleep on the couch, TV humming quietly, when I heard the shower running upstairs. Emily had left her phone charging on the armrest beside me, screen down. Normally, I wouldn't care, but when it buzzed, the vibration was sharp, almost frantic. 1, 2, 3 times. I don't know what made me turn it over. Maybe instinct. Maybe the exhaustion of pretending everything was fine. But when I did, the first words I saw froze me. "Can't wait to see you again tomorrow, babe." It was from someone named Ryan. For a second, my brain refused to process it. I scrolled up. Messages stacked for weeks. Photos, jokes, confessions. Last night was worth the risk. I hate having to sneak around. He'll never know. Each word hit harder than the last. My chest felt tight, like my ribs were closing in. I sat there, staring at her phone, the blue glow lighting up the truth I didn't want to face. My wife wasn't just distant, she was gone. The woman I built a life with had been lying to me in our own house, in the same rooms we once called home. When I heard the water stop, I quickly set the phone down, exactly where it was. My hands were shaking. I could have confronted her right there. I wanted to, but when she walked down in her robe, smiling faintly, saying, "You're still up," I just nodded. I couldn't even look at her. That night, I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully beside me. Every soft breath from her felt like a blade twisting deeper. I knew I couldn't just accuse her. I needed proof, undeniable proof. Not because I doubted what I saw, but because I knew Emily. She was smart, manipulative when cornered. She'd twist the story, make herself the victim, and I'd end up the bad guy. So I made a decision right there in the dark. If she wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules, and I'd make sure she'd never see my move coming. The next morning, I woke up before Emily and just watched her sleep. She looked peaceful, almost innocent. The same face I used to wake up next to every day, without doubt. But now, every soft breath felt rehearsed. Every smile I remembered suddenly looked like a performance I'd been too blind to question. That day at work, I barely got anything done. My hands were on the keyboard, but my mind was in that phone, replaying the messages like a loop I couldn't shut off. By evening, I decided I couldn't live in assumptions anymore. I needed the whole picture, and if that meant becoming someone I never thought I'd be, so be it. So I started watching, quietly, patiently. I checked our shared bank account, small transactions I didn't recognize, hotel charges, rideshare receipts, expensive lunches, on days she claimed to be working from home. I went further. I looked up Ryan on social media. Real estate agent. Married once. Divorced now. The same guy who helped us refinance our mortgage 2 years ago. The irony made me sick. I installed a simple tracking app on our shared iPad, syncs to her iCloud. It wasn't out of paranoia anymore. It was survival. Within a week, I had my answer. Every time she said she was meeting a client, she was meeting him. Parks, coffee shops, even his office, after hours. She wasn't even careful anymore, maybe because she thought I'd never looked at night. I'd lie beside her, pretending to sleep while she texted under the blanket. Her face lit by that blue screen, fingers moving fast, heart probably racing for another man. I'd listen to the faint taps of her keyboard and wonder when exactly love had turned into deceit. But as much as it broke me, something inside me hardened too. Because now, it wasn't just betrayal, it was strategy. I started saving screenshots, photos, timestamps, every lie, every receipt. I didn't know exactly what I was building yet, but I knew one thing for sure when it came crashing down. It was going to be her world, not mine. Emily sat me down at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd once dreamed about kids and vacations, and said she needed space. Her voice was calm, rehearsed, like she'd practiced it in front of a mirror. I stared at her, trying to read something human in her face, but all I saw was detachment. Space from what? I asked quietly. From me. From the life we built, she sighed, eyes darting toward the window. It's not you, it's everything. I feel trapped. I just need time to think. That line, it's not you, it's funny how it always comes right before the knife slides in. Within a week, she was gone. Claimed she was staying with her sister, but I already knew better. I watched her location ping in the same neighborhood where Ryan lived. The puzzle wasn't a puzzle anymore. It was a confession spelled in GPS coordinates. At first, I told myself to let her go. Maybe this was my chance to start over. But the silence in the house didn't feel like peace. It felt like a crime scene, one where love had been murdered slowly, methodically. Then came the final blow. I came home one evening, called out for Max like always. Nothing. His leash was gone. His toys, too. I searched every room until it hit me. She took him. She took my dog, the one creature who'd stood by me through everything. I texted her, "Where's Max?" She replied hours later, "He needs comfort. You're not in a good place for him right now." I stared at that message until my vision blurred. The rage wasn't loud. It was cold, surgical. She didn't just cheat. She took the only piece of joy that hadn't betrayed me. That night, I sat in the dark living room, the air thick with betrayal and the echo of Max's missing collar. The The silence was so complete, it hurt my ears. She'd erased me from my own life, and for the first time, I realized something terrifying. She wasn't done yet. The week after she left was a blur. Quiet mornings, empty dinners, the echo of Max's claws missing from the hallway. I'd wake up, reach for her out of habit, and my hand would land on cold sheets. It was the kind of loneliness that didn't just sit beside you, it crawled inside your chest. For days, I replayed everything, wondering what I did wrong, what I could have done differently. Finally, I broke down and called a divorce lawyer. I wasn't looking for revenge. I just wanted to survive the mess she'd made. I remember sitting in that office, hands trembling, while he flipped through documents like he'd seen my story 100 times before. He looked up at me and said, "You have more power than you think." Those words changed everything. We went over every detail of our life, the house, the car, the accounts. Emily never cared for the logistics. The mortgage, the business registration, even the insurance, all in my name. The lawyer smirked. She played games with her heart, but you hold the scoreboard. That moment flipped a switch in me. The pain dulled, replaced by something colder, sharper, focus. I realized Emily wasn't just a cheater, she was strategic. The space she asked for wasn't about reflection. It was about repositioning, setting herself up before I could react. But she underestimated me, so I took the lawyer's advice. I stayed quiet. No angry messages, no confrontation. I wanted her to think I was broken, that I'd given up. Meanwhile, I started gathering everything: bank records, property documents, proof of infidelity. Every piece of her lie now had weight, and I was stacking them like ammo dot at night. I'd sit in the living room with a glass of whiskey, staring at the empty leash hanging by the door, promising myself one thing: this wasn't going to end with her winning. She wanted space. Fine, I'd give her all the space she needed, right before I took everything else back. 2 weeks after she left, Emily texted me out of nowhere. "Can we meet?" I think we both need closure. Closure. The word felt almost funny coming from her, but I said yes, because closure wasn't what I wanted, it was confirmation, and she was about to hand it to me on a silver platter. We met at a quiet cafe downtown, the same one where we used to have breakfast on weekends. She looked different, lighter somehow, like guilt had turned into arrogance. She smiled as if nothing had happened, like we were just two adults talking things through. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she started, stirring her coffee like she was rehearsing lines. "But we both know things weren't perfect. Maybe this is for the best." I kept my expression still. "And what about Max?" She hesitated. "He's happy. You can see him once things calm down." Her voice had that patronizing calm that cheaters wear when they think they've already won. Then she leaned in, lowering her voice. "Look, when the divorce goes through, I want to do this fairly. Half the assets, no drama. Half of everything I built." I nodded slowly, pretending to agree, while inside, I felt something icy form behind my ribs. "You're right," I said quietly. "We should keep things civil." What she didn't know was that my phone, resting on the table, was recording every word, every casual confession, every phrase that proved she was already planning the split while she was still with him by the time I walked out of that cafe. I had everything I needed: her voice, her arrogance, her lies. That night, I called my lawyer. We moved fast. Joint accounts, frozen. Titles transferred to a trust under my name, her access to anything financial. Gone. Emily wanted a clean break. I was about to give her one, but not the kind she expected. 3 days later, my lawyer filed for divorce on grounds of adultery. Every screenshot, every receipt, every voice recording from that cafe was neatly packaged into a case file that could bury her if she tried to fight. I remember watching him slide the folder across his desk with a calm smile. "She thought you were quiet because you were weak," he said. "Turns out, you were just waiting for the right moment." When the papers were served, Emily lost her composure for the first time. "I didn't have to imagine it," she called me, voice trembling. "What the hell is this, Mark? You're filing against me?" I stayed silent for a moment before replying, "You wanted fairness, remember? This is fair." There was a pause, a sharp inhale. "You're doing this to punish me?" "No," I said. "I'm doing this to protect what's mine." She hung up. That was the last time I heard her voice without a lawyer present. Within days, Ryan, the man she threw everything away for, went radio silent. His real estate office scrubbed their photos together, and rumors started swirling. Apparently, his ex-wife was threatening to expose him for workplace misconduct. Emily had gone from living a double life to having no life at all. Meanwhile, I stayed steady. No angry texts. No social media posts. I showed up to work, hit the gym, and pretended like nothing was happening. Every time my lawyer called, it was another small victory, another account secured, another asset confirmed as mine. The silence worked in my favor. People started noticing the shift. Friends who'd sided with her began texting me, asking if the rumors were true. I didn't answer. Let them draw their own conclusions. For the first time since this began, I wasn't the one reacting. I was in control. And when Emily finally realized she was standing on a sinking ship, it was already too late to swim. Just when I thought it was over, that she'd finally run out of ways to hurt me, Emily found one more. A week before our first court hearing, I got a call from my lawyer. His tone was careful, too careful. "Mark," he said, "she's filed a counterclaim. She's accusing you of emotional abuse." For a moment, the room spun. Abuse. The word hit like a physical blow. I'd spent years walking on eggshells just to keep her happy, apologizing for things I didn't even do. And now she was using that same calm cruelty to flip the story. Within 48 hours, the whispers started. Colleagues avoiding eye contact, mutual friends needing space. Even my boss called me in to ask if everything was all right at home. I wanted to scream to tell them the truth, but Emily had already poisoned the well. I wasn't just fighting for my assets anymore. I was fighting for my name. That was the lowest point of my life. The house felt haunted by memories I couldn't trust anymore. Every photo on the wall looked like evidence of a lie. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and spent most nights sitting in Max's empty room, holding his old leash in my hands. For the first time since this began, I genuinely thought about giving up selling the house. Walking away, starting over somewhere no one knew me. Then, fate intervened. A neighbor I barely talked to, an older guy named Henry, knocked on my door one night. He said, "I don't know if this matters, but my security camera caught something weird a while back." He handed me a flash drive. On it, footage of Emily sneaking Ryan into the house at night. Weeks before she left me, time-stamped, clear as daylight. The very same period she claimed I was emotionally abusive. I remember staring at the screen, my reflection flickering in the glow of the monitor, and feeling something inside me shift again. I wasn't the broken one anymore. I was the witness to her lies, her arrogance, her downfall waiting to happen, and for the first time in months, I smiled. The footage changed everything. My lawyer's expression when he saw it said more than words could. "This isn't just evidence," he told me. "This is checkmate." He filed a motion to dismiss her abuse claim and attached the video, the timestamps, and her own texts from the affair. Within days, the narrative flipped. Suddenly, the woman who painted herself as a victim was exposed as a liar. Emily's lawyer tried to negotiate privately, but it was too late. The judge wasn't impressed. Every lie she'd told, every false accusation, came back to haunt her in that courtroom. I sat there in silence, listening as her attorney stumbled through excuses, and for once, I didn't feel anger, just clarity. The ruling came swift and brutal. I was awarded full ownership of the house, the car, and all joint savings. Her adultery and false claims stripped her of any leverage. The judge's words still echo in my head. "You can't build freedom on a foundation of deceit, Ryan." He disappeared completely. His business tanked under public scrutiny, and his ex-wife made sure his reputation never recovered. Emily, who once strutted through life like she was untouchable, was left with nothing but debt and humiliation. And then, the twist I didn't expect, the court granted me custody of Max. Apparently, since she'd taken him without permission. It was considered theft of marital property. I'll never forget the day the officer brought him back. He ran straight into my arms, tail wagging so hard it sounded like forgiveness. That night, I sat on the back porch with Max's head on my lap, looking out at the sunset. The same house that once felt like a tomb now felt like victory. Not because I'd won, but because I'd survived. Emily had played every cruel card she had, but in the end, the deck was mine. The day Emily came to collect her belongings, the sky looked like it was mourning for her, gray, heavy, almost theatrical. She arrived in a rideshare, no car of her own now. I watched from the front window as she stepped out, designer purse in hand, dressed too nicely for someone about to face the ruins of her own choices. She hesitated at the door before knocking. I opened it, keeping Max close beside me. His low growl was quiet but unmistakable. "You can take what's yours," I said simply. "Whatever's left, inside." She moved like a stranger in a museum, careful not to touch too much, scanning the walls that still held traces of us. "You redecorated," she murmured, her voice fragile. "I had to," I replied. It didn't feel like home anymore. She laughed, bitter and small. "You always were good at moving on, huh?" I met her eyes. "You mistook endurance for indifference." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was thicker than any argument we ever had. She looked toward the doorway where Max sat, tail still, eyes locked on her. "Can I at least say goodbye to him?" I shook my head. "You already did when you took him." That hit her harder than I expected. Tears welled up, and she turned away quickly, muttering, "I didn't think it would end like this." I followed her outside as she loaded the last box into the car. She stood there for a second, clutching the handle like she wanted to say something more. "Mark," she whispered, "I made a mistake." I looked at her, the woman I once loved, now a stranger I couldn't recognize. "No," I said quietly. "You made a choice." Then I turned, opened the car door, and Max jumped in beside me. As I drove away, I caught her reflection in the side mirror, standing there, small, defeated, watching from the curb. For years, I chased peace. That day, I realized peace doesn't always come gently. Sometimes it comes as silence, right after the door closes for good. It's been 8 months since that day on the curb, and sometimes I still wake up half expecting to hear Emily in the kitchen, humming while she made coffee. But it's just the sound of Max's paws against the floor. The kind of sound that reminds me I'm not alone, just rebuilding. The first few weeks were strange. The house was too big, too quiet. I started filling it with new things, not furniture, but moments. I painted the walls myself, replaced our wedding photos with landscapes. I took on long drives. Every change felt like reclaiming a piece of myself she'd tried to erase. I don't hate her anymore. That surprised me the most. Hate takes energy, and I've learned mine's better spent on healing. I used to think closure came from revenge, from watching someone pay for what they did. But real closure, it's quieter than that. It's the morning you wake up and realize you don't need an apology anymore. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever take her back if she showed up at my door. I always give the same answer. She already did show up, and I already left. I still keep one photo of us, not out of nostalgia, but as a reminder. It's tucked away in a drawer from the early years when I thought love meant giving everything without question. Now I know better. Love should never cost you your self-respect. As for Max, he's thriving. We take long walks in the mornings. The kind of quiet that used to feel empty now feels like peace. He doesn't look back when we walk past the old spots she used to take him to. Neither do I. If there's one thing this whole ordeal taught me, it's that peace isn't always soft or forgiving. Sometimes it's standing in the ashes of what was realizing you didn't just survive the fire. You learned how to build from it.